Hello and welcome to Trending Tonight. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. In our continuing focus on the Uttar Pradesh violence, which has seen the deaths of 15 people, more disturbing images now emerging. From Kanpur, where 3 people lost their lives in firing what appears to be blatant police vandalism caught on camera. A massive posse of policemen can be seen storming into a neighborhood and deliberately smashing up property. There are no protesters who are visible in these visuals, or for that matter, anybody else except for the men in khaki. That's not all. More harrowing accounts are emerging from across Uttar Pradesh. Accounts of distraught families who contradict the police's claim of no firing, including one father's emotional account of how the police shot his son in the belly.
A new disturbing mobile video in which policemen in Kanpur can be seen vandalizing shops and cars in a violence-hit neighborhood late on Saturday night, hours after the violence over citizenship law protests had ended. Among the 3 dead in the Kanpur violence on Friday and Saturday, 30-year-old Mohammad Rais, a daily wager, shot in the stomach by what the police insists was an illegal firearm. His distraught father alleges the police shot his son.
आपसे मिलने कोई सरकार की तरफ से क्या कोई आए नहीं?
कोई नहीं आया। हमको जो है डॉक्टरों ने धोखा दिया। मेरे बच्चे की कोई सुनवाई नहीं भाई। हमको जाने तक मिलने तक नहीं दिया मेरे बच्चे से।
जिस समय गोली चल रही थी तो बच्चा वहाँ पे क्या कर रहा था?
बर्तन धो रहा था।
बर्तन धो रहा था।
प्रोग्राम था।
किसके यहाँ कोई शादी फंक्शन था क्या?
शादी रोज होती रहती है वहाँ ईदगाह में।
अच्छा।
तो हम लोग मजदूरी करते हैं।
हाँ।
तो बच्चा हमारा मजदूरी करता था।
हाँ।
बस उसी में भगदड़ जो मची तो हमारा बच्चा भी डर के मारे भागा।
हाँ।
बस जैसे पार करने लगा सर से मार दिया सीधे।
पुलिस ने सीधे गोली चलाई। ये बात किसने बताई आपको? भैया ने हमारे बताई। लड़के ने कि पुलिस ने सीधे गोली मारी है
यहाँ पेट में आते
These violent attacks on protests, they are taking place in BJP ruled states. We are seeing casualties in the northeast. We are seeing too many casualties in Uttar Pradesh. This is a big question. Why? The government is talking in the language of enmity. The Chief Minister is saying, Badla lunga, I'm going to take revenge. What does it mean?
In West UP's Bijnor, this late-night visit on Tuesday by a top police officer to the home of 20-year-old Suleiman, killed as violence ripped through the area last Friday. The police have admitted to NDTV that a police bullet killed this boy, an IAS aspirant.
और हम उसको दफन करने के लिए क्या 2 गज जगह भी हमारे शहर में नहीं है उसके लिए? हमारे यहाँ कभी लड़ाई झगड़े नहीं हुए तो हमें कम से कम 2 गज जगह तो मिलनी चाहिए दफनाने के लिए। सीओ साहब ने घंटी बजाई, 5 फायर किए पुलिस वालों ने थाने के अंदर। इन लोगों ने कहा कि ये क्या हो रहा? बोले ये नाल साफ हो रही हैं। और बोले अगर जाते होशियार बनने की कोशिश करोगे तो इतने मुकदमे ला दूंगा तुम्हारी नस्लें नहीं भुगत सकती। ये सीओ साहब के अल्फाज, सीओ धामपुर के सर्किल ऑफिसर के।
सीधी सी बात है, घटना हुई जो नहीं होनी चाहिए थी। पत्थरबाजी हुई, आगजनी हुई, तोड़फोड़ हुई, फायरिंग हुई। ठीक है, अब इसको हम लोग जो है आगे ना हो वो निवेदन करने आए हैं, संवेदना व्यक्त करने आए हैं।
सर हमारा परिवार ऐसा नहीं है, ना ही हमने आज तक किसी से कहीं झगड़ा
करा है। 100% जो आप कह रहे हैं 100%
हम ये चाहते हैं कि शहर के अंदर हमारे दंगा या कोई बलवा किसी तरह का हो, समझे? हम हमेशा सपोर्ट में खड़े हैं पुलिस की, ऐसा नहीं है पुलिस के साथ खड़े हैं कहीं अगर कोई आए, मगर हमें दोषियों के खिलाफ जो है ना कार्रवाई करनी है।
There has been no word from the UP government on whether the allegations of high-handedness against the police will be investigated or not. In the last set of data that they gave us a few days ago, the government said that over 200 cases had been registered against alleged rioters across the state and over 900 people had been arrested. But there has been no word on any possible investigation against the UP police itself. Among those arrested on charges like rioting and attempted murder in Lucknow, actress-activist Sadaf Jafar, for doing a Facebook Live from the spot of violent protests last Thursday in Lucknow, questioning the inaction of policemen. and noted theatre artist Deepak Kabir, arrested when he went to a police station to inquire about friends who had been detained after the Lucknow violence.
और जो वहाँ पर सिर्फ अनलॉफुल असेंबली या अवैधानिक जमावड़े के दोषी थे, उन पर सिर्फ उतनी ही धाराएं जो हैं जो विधि सम्मत हो वही वो उसमें करें और शीघ्र विवेचनाओं का साइंटिफिक एविडेंसेस के आधार पर उनका जो विवेचनाओं को पूर्ण करते हुए सही उपद्रवियों को जेल भेजें, किसी भी हालत में किसी भी निर्दोष पर कोई कार्रवाई ना हो.
With Mohammad Zubair Khan in Bijnor, Arun Agarwal in Kanpur and camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
Meanwhile, the Uttar Pradesh police has released a set of photos and videos from western UP's Meerut that purportedly show at least 2 men firing from illegal weapons at the police during protests that rocked the city on the 20th of December. The police says this is evidence of the kind of violent mobs they faced as they dealt with violent protests between Thursday and Saturday over the citizenship law. Now, Meerut has the highest death toll among all places in Uttar Pradesh, and the subsequent violence that shook the state between last Friday and Saturday, 6 people have died. Many of these people have died of gunshot wounds. The police in Meerut says that none of the deaths have been from their bullets and that they did not fire anything apart from plastic pellets or rubber bullets. And they say the case is similar across Uttar Pradesh. But at least 14 to 15 people have died of gunshot wounds. The police has owned up to firing in just one instance. And just days after Chief Minister Adityanath's revenge comment against protesters, 28 people in UP's Rampur have now been sent notices by the administration seeking recovery for the damage caused to public property. The list of damaged property that the UP police has handed out is a curious one. It even includes the pellets, the tear gas canisters and the batons that were used to crack down on the protesters. NDTV's Saurabh Shukla with that story.
Over 24 people in Uttar Pradesh's Rampur have been sent notices by the administration seeking recovery for the damage caused in the violence last week during protests against the new citizenship law. The crackdown comes after Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's promise of action on protesters.
हिंसा में लिप्त प्रत्येक तत्व की प्रॉपर्टी को जब्त करेंगे क्योंकि वे सब चिन्हित चेहरे हैं, वे सब वीडियोग्राफी में आ चुके हैं, सीसीटीवी के फुटेज में आ चुके हैं. इन सब की प्रॉपर्टी को जब्त करके इनसे हम इसका बदला लेंगे.
Nearly 28 people have received notices seeking a recovery of rupees 14.86 lakh for the damage caused to public property.
उन सारे लोगों को चिन्हित करके उनका नाम पुलिस की तरफ से भेजा गया. एक असेसमेंट भी भेजा गया है कि कितना नुकसान हुआ है. तो इसके आधार पर जो उसके प्राधिकारी हैं एडीएम फाइनेंस, उन्होंने नोटिस इन सारे लोगों को भेजा है.
But the UP police's list of damaged property mystifyingly includes pellets, rubber bullets, tear gas canisters and batons used by the police on protesters. While the administration moves to recover damages from the protesters, the question remains, will they compensate for damages by the police from the treasury? Will the police compensate for the CCTV cameras that were damaged in the dead of the night? With Saurabh Shukla in New Delhi, Usama Shah for NDTV.
Joining us tonight, Subhashini Ali, activist and someone who's actually spent time talking to the families of those who've died. Harsh Mandar, social worker and writer, with us also tonight. Dr. Geeta Bhatt, academician, political analyst, a supporter of the RSS, is also with us, as is Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh.
Good evening.
So, Subhashini Ali, let me begin with you. You visited the families and heard some of these first-person accounts. What worries you the most here?
You see, the two parents, set of parents who came to meet me, they are extremely poor people, extremely poor. And they have lost, each one of them, their breadwinners. And both the young men who were killed, actually they were not part of any kind of protest or demonstration. One of them was washing plates after a wedding feast, which is what he used to do. And the other one was a POP worker, plaster of Paris worker, and he was going to collect some dues from someone. And they have both told their parents, one has told his mother, one told his father, that he was shot point blank by the police, that he died because of police firing. Now this is extremely disturbing because on the one hand, the police is saying that they have not fired any bullets, except now in Bijnor they are accepting. And to me, this is because the government wants to evade its responsibility of paying any kind of compensation to the families of those who have died. This is very pathetic and this should not be allowed. More and more evidence is coming out of what the police did. They are showing us videos of some people from the crowd also who fired. I'm saying identify those people, arrest them, proceed against them, but you have to also take action against your police who are seen firing. And what about the police who destroyed cars, who destroyed shops? Now you're asking people to pay for the destruction. What about what the police has destroyed? The police is asking people to pay for 10 lathis that they say were broken. So the lathis were broken, probably beating up someone, and now you're saying the people who are beating up should be paying for the lathis. What kind of justice is this? What is going on in Uttar Pradesh? This is what is so frightening, that there's absolutely no sense of sympathy, no sense of remorse, no sense of feeling for people who have lost their family members, no feeling that there should be dialogue, that there should be an attempt to, set the situation right, bring people together. There's nothing like that coming from the government and the administration. This talk of badla. What is badla? You want to take badla from your own fellow citizens? What does this mean?
Vikram Singh, I think the question really boils down to whether the vandalism of a few, and we're definitely not wishing away the vandalism or taking away from it in any way whatsoever, but can the vandalism of a few justify the targeting of so many, perhaps an entire community?
Absolutely not. And I have another question. Why did this happen in Uttar Pradesh?
All right. Let Mr. Singh answer.
Oh,
he's a UP veteran.
I'm sorry.
He's been DGP of the state. Perhaps he could give us a insight into just what the police is thinking at this point, and indeed the administration.
Ankita, I think we are jumping to conclusions. And yes, you are right. I'm a veteran, and I go back to year 1990 when I was the senior superintendent police Kanpur, and Subhashini Ali ji was also a political leader even then of repute. We also saw the same scenarios then, and whatever compulsions that Ms. Subhashini Ali has, her stand has not changed, and my stand has also not changed. I would say that compassion should be universal, should be also for those policemen, 256 of them who are seriously injured. You find in this photograph the senior most officer of Bareli zone, Avinash Chandra, sitting with the aggrieved. You also feel that any person who dies in such situations, a case is registered, it is investigated,
but Mr.
and
Singh,
make no mistake about it.
Has there been any instance of a policeman dying in this violence? Because we haven't heard of any police deaths so far.
I don't think you are logically correct, Ankitaji, that for every death in the public,
no. My only question, Vikram Singh, is that we really have no knowledge at this point of the extent of police injuries, and in fact, you pointed this out in our show yesterday that you would try and make this, available in the public domain, but that hasn't happened as yet. Is all I'm pointing out.
I will tell you, Ankita. Now, let me have just exactly 60 seconds. I would say that every activist who has come has spoken about the injury and the violence, that supposed violence against the members of the public. Who was going to speak about the public? And make no mistake about it, the law is very clear. 7 sections of prevention of damage to public property, as also the orders of the Honorable High Court. But my advice to the state government and the police would be that this is an action that is to be taken by a relief commissioner who is a retired district judge or a retired High Court judge. It cannot be an administrative action. And every death, if you say there are 16 deaths in UP, every death will be investigated within the provisions of Section 302.
Well, we certainly hope it will. We certainly hope it will, Mr. Singh, because that in itself should point out whether in fact these bullet injuries are from illegal firearms or from service revolvers. Because isn't that really the case in point? We have the police sharing this footage of many illegal firearms being used. But may I put to you, isn't it the police's responsibility to ensure that illegal firearms are not so easily available? Who is responsible for implementing that?
You're so right. Ankita, but in a free-for-all, in an orchestrated agitation like this, which just erupts from multiple locations with a common agenda to destroy public property and create mayhem and disorder. Use of firearms, both illegitimate and legitimate, is often. We had the killing of a subdivision magistrate by an AK-47 in Kanpur. Miss Ali would tell you the massive use of illegal weapons, and we then had the unfortunate killing of 11
I would point out to
in
you,
1990 also. But
the fact that so many people have illegal firearms at multiple locations, who is accountable for the failure to anticipate that or prevent that? Isn't that a matter of law and order also for the police to answer?
It's the police responsibility, and I would say the failure of the police not to keep a proper check on the illicit weapons. But Ms. Subhashini Ali would remember very well also that during my time as SP, some people were killed, very unfortunate. But
right.
also
well,
the similar allegations were leveled at me.
Vikram Singh, let's not delve into the past because this is immediate and this is very real. Harsh Mandar, the latest pictures that are emerging from Kanpur's Begumganj area, and if we can get those pictures up on our screens again. Now, those seem to indicate that the policeman actually entered a neighborhood and in the dead of night and actually started vandalizing property without any immediate provocation. Yes, there was violence there earlier in the day, but here in the middle of the night, you don't see any protesters running in, which was the narrative earlier, that people were chased into houses where then families were beaten up, innocents were caught. But here, what is happening over here? In these visuals, we're literally seeing a massive posse of policemen going around, breaking shops, shattering the glass of vehicles. What is happening here, Harsh Mandar? All right, we seem to. Vikram Singh, if you want to respond to these images, we've been showing them through the day, and these are very worrying.
These are very worrying, and I think the senior most officer, that would be Additional DG Kanpur Prem Prakash, should inquire into every such allegation that there is vandalism at the hands of police officers. The police officers cannot be vindictive, they cannot be malicious, and they cannot attack people wantonly if it is so allegation. I would certainly say that police are known, and if they have to enhance their credibility, every such allegation will have to be reduced into writing as an FIR and investigated, not only inquired into, but investigated. And whosoever has faulted, I would say the failing then in that case would be that of those who are doing this unfortunate things and indulging in criminal activities, but the leadership also would be accountable, and they have a lot of explaining to do. You lose your credibility in a single instance that happens anywhere like this, the entire credibility of the police force is eroded.
Subhashini Ali, you know, can the police really say they're any different from the mob when we see images like this?
No. You see, there's a big difference. I don't even want to go into this business of what the so-called mob did or didn't do. What has happened here is that there was some altercation at 5 p.m, not far away from this area. But that was all over and finished. At night, this was an act of sort of this badla. I'm saying this word badla. We have to be very, very critical of it. You do not talk about badla against your own citizens. This was an act of badla. Unfortunately, the cops went there, and I can't even tell you the kind of slogans that they raised, the kinds of words that they used against people there, and they smashed cars on both sides of the road. Now, what I actually want to say is something quite different, that it is not only in Uttar Pradesh that there have been protests against this new law that has been passed.
Right.
These protests have taken place all over the country, but we are seeing these sort of incidents in places which are ruled by the ruling party. They have attacked the protests, whether it is Northeast, where 5 people died, whether it is Uttar Pradesh, where the death toll is varying between 18 and 21 now, or whether it is Karnataka, where 2 people at least have died.
Yes.
But in other states, we have been part of protests. Lakhs and lakhs of people have come out on the streets in Mumbai, in Dharavi, in Malegaon, all over Kerala, in Nagpur. And nothing has happened.
Yes.
Not a stone has been thrown. Why?
I would like Geeta Bhatt actually to respond to that. Why, Geeta Bhatt, do you feel that Uttar Pradesh has seen so many deaths? That's the highest number of deaths anywhere in the country. You have a chief minister talking about badla, taking badla from protesters, and you also see that is the state which has seen the maximum number of deaths.
Well, Ankita, first of all, you know, while Suhasini ji again and again is reiterating that these kind of, violence has only taken place in certain BJP ruled states, which in itself shows that how there was a very well orchestrated attempts have been made and successfully to not only, you know,
Geeta, but I don't think she said that at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that
at all.
Over there.
I didn't
She
say
said
that.
the crackdown and the
say that.
deaths have been highest. The crackdown on protesters and the deaths have been the highest in BJP ruled states. That is not the same. That is not the same as saying the violence. There's been violence in many states.
Why have you called me, Ankita ji? If I am not
I'm
allowed
just
to
pointing
speak, you
out.
can counter me or Suhasini ji can counter me.
Geeta
For
Bhatt,
the
I'm
last
just
20
pointing out
minutes,
to
I have
you.
been very patiently
Yes.
listening.
No, of course.
So
Please go ahead.
at least
But
have
I'm
the
just
patience and give me
correcting
1
you on a
minute.
factual point.
And then you can counter me and tell me I am wrong.
Okay, no, I was
you
just
see,
correcting you on a
most
factual
welcome
point.
to say
Please
that
go
I am
ahead. We
wrong,
need
but
to
give me
listen
a
to you.
minute to speak at least.
Geeta Bhatt, we need to hear from you. Please go ahead.
So yeah, so all I am what I'm saying is that, you know, a large number of political leaders who have come out and have been talking about this very point again and again, that these violence has only taken place in BJP ruled states. But the point is, none of them have, even Sonia Gandhi as a, you know, responsible president of the oldest political party of this country, when comes out and talks to the nation, she not even once mentions about the, you know, criticizes the violence or mentions that there should be peace, then there should be restraint from violence.
Geeta,
Only
but
there is a criticism of the act which amendment which has been done.
From Prime Minister Modi about the peaceful protests? Did we hear about the Prime Minister? Did we hear the Prime Minister acknowledging that there were also thousands of people who were taking part in peaceful and constitutional protests? I don't think we heard him say that either.
Yes,
but Harsh Mandar,
Ankita ji, there were peaceful protests. No one is saying that but there were also a large number of
but we are only
people on the street who were there supporting this amendment which has taken place.
We are only hearing the centre. Yes, certainly,
also,
certainly there were. Certainly there were, but we're only hearing, we are hearing the centre and also that, you know, this order which has come is based on a Allahabad High Court 2010 directive.
All right. From the Allahabad High Court.
Please don't shout. I don't think any of us raised our voices, Geeta Bhatt, because screaming doesn't help anybody. We need to listen to each other. Harsh Mandar, do come in. I believe we couldn't go across to you earlier.
You are not listening to me, Ankita.
Yes, I will come back to you, Geeta Bhatt, but please, Harsh Mandar, is it worrying that the numbers of the dead are highest in Uttar Pradesh? And now when we see these visuals of the police also indulging in wanton acts of vandalism, and we hear that the administration is trying to get compensation from people and has already issued notices asking for money, shouldn't the police be asked to compensate as well? We've seen them. We have them on camera, in fact, damaging CCTVs, damaging cars, damaging shops and homes.
See, what is happening in Uttar Pradesh is deeply worrying for every Indian. I went myself to Aligarh Muslim University a day after the police violence there. And what the faculty and students described was terrifying, because they talked about the police coming in, raising slogans of Jai Shri Ram, setting fire to the students, using stun grenades, which I've never heard being used against students. There will be, if there have been incidents of violence.
All right, we seem to be having some trouble with that connection to Harsh Mandar, but I'm also running out of time. And Subhashini Ali, I think, you know, how do we move on from here? Because yes, we can go on sort of trading charges till kingdom come, but how can trust be restored in a situation like this?
I think that there are several things that need to be done. I think first of all, there is a need to, in different districts, to talk to the administration about those who have been arrested, those who are wounded, those who have lost their lives, those who have lost their livelihood. All these things need to be discussed. All these things need to be addressed. The local administration cannot talk about withdrawing the act or going, you know, back from there. That is something that the government of the day has to think about. But at each district level, I think this attempt had to start. I think there has to also be an attempt by everybody, that is both the administration and all of us, to see that protests remain peaceful and that people are not able to do what they have done till now. 21 is too large a price. 21 young lives who were actually the support of their families, the futures of their families. That has to be kept in mind. And I think that the government has to stop talking about protesters as enemies. They have to stop thinking of protesters as enemies. We are thinking that we are protesting to save the constitution of this country. We feel that this act goes against the spirit of the constitution of this country. We are not enemies of the country and we refuse to be treated as such. The government must start listening to other voices, must start reaching out to people and must start a dialogue. This is absolutely no way for any responsible government either at the centre or in the state of Uttar Pradesh to behave.
All right, we are completely out of time. We'll leave it at that for tonight. Thank you all for joining us on the show. The news updates continue here on NDTV 24/7.